This is week 1, problem 2. It is actually very similar to week 1, problem 1. We'll start with the first question. The first question says that owner invested $20,000 to start a business. So we automatically know. Oops, I don't know how we went all the way to 10. We automatically know that cash gets affected, which is a part of assets, and it increases. And we know capital gets affected, which is a part of owner's equity, which also increases. We also go to the tab sheet, and we know the cash over here increases for $20,000, and we know capital increases for $20,000. We go back to the transaction. We go to the second one. The second one says the owner withdrew $2,000 for personal use. So we automatically know that cash, which is a part of assets, decreases, and withdrawal, which is a part of owner's equity, also decreases. Then we go back to the tab, and we have minus $2,000 here. We have drawing, which is minus $2,000 as well. We go back to the very third transaction, and the third transaction asks, and then the third transaction says received monthly utility bill for $350. That's an extra additional account that has been added to our owner's equity, which is an expense. So cash, which is a part of assets, obviously decreases, and supplies expense, or it's just an expense, depending on what it's how it's recorded under the tab sheet, which is under owner's equity, also decreases. In this case, increases, but both the left side has to equal out to the right side. So that would be minus 350 for cash, and expense is going 350 over here. Okay. Then we go to the next transaction. Then the next transaction says cash sales for the month are $6,000. So that's an extra additional account that has been added to our owner's equity, which is called revenue. And we have received them in cash, which is a part of assets, where cash increases. And then we have revenue, which is a part of capital, also increases. And it increases for $6,000. So we have cash that increases for $6,000 on this side, revenue, which increases for $6,000 on this side right here. And then we go to transaction number 5, which is invested $3,500 cash in the business. So it is kind of like the very first question. Cash, which is a part of assets, increases. And then we have capital, which is under owner's equity, also increases for $3,500. So we increase cash for $3,500, and we increase capital for $3,500. We go back to the transaction practice. We go to transaction number 6. Transaction number 6 says purchase a car valued at $10,000. $2,000 down payment. The balance will be paid over the next 4 years. So automatically, we know that 3 accounts have been affected. So I'm going to add another border right over here that kind of separates the 3 different accounts. So the very first thing, if we separate into 3 different parts, is the car. Now let's see how they have it scheduled here. They have a car. Alright, so sometimes it's under equipment, delivery equipment. At this particular point, we have a car which is under assets. The account is named car. Alright, so we have a car which is under assets, and the value of the car is $10,000, which actually means that it increases. And then we have a $2,000 down payment, which means that they paid cash, which is yet again under assets. $2,000, so the cash account decreases, and the balance will be hit over the next 4 years, which is accounts payable, which is under liability, and it actually increases. Um, so we go back to the tab sheet, minus $2,000 that will be paid with cash. $10,000 was the car worth, and we have $8,000 of in accounts payable. And then we have transaction 7. Transaction 7 says purchase $150 of supplies on account. So we automatically know that supplies is getting affected, which is a part of assets, and we know that it is increases obviously because we're getting more supplies, and they're paying it on account, which means that accounts payable increases, which is under a liability, and it increases. So that is the worth of $150. So 150 under supplies, 150 under accounts payable. And feel free to pause the video as I go along, so that way you can fully understand why certain transactions go under certain accounts. Transaction number 8 says pay the premium for 2-year insurance policy for $546. So we automatically know that cash is getting affected, which is under assets, and it decreases for $546. And then insurance or prepaid insurance is affected, which is also under assets, and it increases for $546. So this is minus 546, and then let's see, I believe this is insurance, prepaid insurance, yep. And we add 546 over here. Then we go to transaction 9. Transaction 9 says perform service for a customer for $6,000 who will pay at the end of the month. Anytime a question says perform services for a customer, that kind of means like receiving revenue. So if you will receive money at the end of the month, meaning that you perform the services right now, but you will not receive the money until the end of the month, that means that that money goes under accounts receivable. It's kind of like a promise that you will get paid later on for the services you have given today. So accounts receivables is the first account that gets affected, which is under assets, and it increases. And revenue is the other one that gets affected, which is under owner's equity, and also increases. So we go back to the tab sheet and we look at accounts receivables. I'm assuming it's the second one. And we have $6,000 worth of accounts receivables, and I believe this would be the revenue. Nope, revenue would be right here. Make sure it's in the same line for $6,000 as well. And we have, I believe, 2 more transactions, even though the actual line says that we have 1 more transaction. The billed credit customers $13,500 for monthly services. Basically, this also means that you will receive account receivable. So you have billed credit customers $13,500 for monthly services. That means that you are still dealing with accounts receivable. So account receivables, which is under assets, will increase, and revenue, which is under owner's equity, also increase. And then we go back over here. So I do account receivables for $13,500, and then I do revenue, which is over here, for $13,500. And then we have transaction 11, which I'm going to put over here. And transaction 11 says receive payments of $2,500 from credit customers, meaning that from transaction 11. So we automatically know that cash, which is under assets, will increase because we're getting $2,500 worth of it. And also account receivables, I'm just going to leave that. Account receivable, which is under assets, will decrease. Therefore, having our customers have to pay less at the end of the month. So 2,500, which means that I'm getting 2,500 of cash here. I believe this is account receivables, and we have minus $2,500 under account receivables. But I believe that is pretty much all of the transactions that we have to do for this assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sum each of these accounts and kind of letting you know what is the balance in each account. So the balance in cash is 27,104, and I'm going to do the rest until all the way at the end. And these are the accounts, the balances in each of the accounts. Here I'm going to put the balance of just the assets account, which is right over here. And assets is equal to $54,800. And our accounts payable at this point is 8,150. I believe this is the capital, 23,500. Withdrawal, revenues, and expenses. So I'm going to sum these up, and we should get the same thing as assets. So 54,800 of assets is equal to 54,800, which is liabilities plus your owner's equity over here. Then we'll go to balance it, and then we'll just transfer all of our numbers there. That would be cash, and account receivables was 1,700. And then we have supplies, which was 150. And then we have prepaid insurance, which is 546. And then we have the car, which is 10,000. So all of our total for our assets is equal to 54,800. And then we have accounts payable, which is 8,150. Capital, which is 23,500. And then we have drawing, which is 2,000 minus 2,000. Then we have revenue, which is 25,500. And then we have expenses, which is 350. Therefore, our total on this side of the equation is 54,800, which would do the same thing as the total on the left hand side of the equation. If you have any questions about the assignment, please do not hesitate to contact me.